Okay, so what I want to do here is to give you some instruction on how to use the discussion board. I guess the first thing to answer is why should you post at all on the discussion board? And I think, well, one good reason is that it's required. I'd like every student in Bio 202 to make at least 24 points worth of posts over the course of the semester, which is really a kind of a minimum target. You can certainly post more than that. Any posts that you make to the discussion board that takes you beyond the required 24 points will be added to your bad extra credit total. So it's a good idea to post simply for the point value. Um, Other reasons, I don't really think about the point so much, but the reasons why I think you should post are that you want to be able to share your really good answers. If you have answers to some of the questions that are there in the study guide slash lecture questions, it'd be great for you to share those. Or maybe somebody else has answers, has posts that are answering some of those questions, and you think you could help them out by pointing out gaps and maybe filling some of the gaps that are in the answers that are already posted. Okay. Or maybe you don't have a good answer for something, and you really want somebody to come up and help you out. And you could ask the question, "Hey, somebody help me out with this particular question. Did we even cover it in lecture?" Because remember that what I write into these lecture question lists is kind of like what I anticipate talking about, and what I actually cover might not exactly be what's there in the discussion board. I mean, it'll be mostly what's there in the lecture questions, but sometimes I'll take a left turn where I was supposed to go straight, and there might be other things that we cover. All right. Remember that when you prepare for your examination, you want to know, you want to be as much inside of my head as possible. You think about the fact that I use my visualized, idealized students' lecture notes as as a basis for what is considered fair game for the tests. Okay, so let's start by going back to our lecture questions. And so let's imagine that we've been through the first week of lecture. I've taken really good notes. And let's see. Or maybe better than that, because in the lecture questions, I've taken the numbers off. And so I want to be able to identify my questions by numbers. So maybe I'll just go over to the lecture study questions, which are basically the same questions. I put numbers on these because I wanted these to be kind of like the official numbers for these questions. And so let's take question 10. Who was Georges Cuvier, and how did he build the necessary foundations to support evolutionary thinking while at the same time he failed as a scientific thinker? Okay, so let's say I've got a really good answer for this. Okay, so I'm going to take this bit of text. Okay. This is important because when you answer a question, you want the people that read your post to know what question you're answering. Okay. And I'll go back to the discussion board. Let's see, I'll go back to the discussion board right here. And this would be for week 1. And so I can come into week 1 and create a new thread. It's going to be the second thread after Taylor's. Okay. And I'll put in maybe question number 10. You don't need to do anything more than that. Basically, 10 in the subject line will tell other people what the topic is for this thread that's been created. And so I can go ahead and type in number 10, paste that in, and I can go ahead and give an answer. Okay, so I'm going to actually give you a legitimate answer on this. Sometimes I just kind of type gibberish, but I want to give you an idea for what the level of answering should be there. Now, remember, I'm working not from everything I know about Georges Cuvier, but what I sort of see as being there in your notes, for those of you who took really good notes. Okay, there. Now I'm going to hit the submit button, and it's going to go through. And now Jeff Ihara, preview user, that's me, is going to be here, and I could see my thread. I could look at my thread here and see what I wrote. Okay. So note that we have the subject line number 10. The question is here, and I've got a good I've got my answer here. And this is about what we talked about in lecture. And yeah, I realize that you know, if you don't really have good lecture notes, you might be tempted to go to Wikipedia or just some other source in Google, and you could take a whole lot of information about Cuvier that might not necessarily be pertinent or relevant to your developing understanding of you know, the context within which Darwin was developing his thinking, which is the context that I provided in class. Okay, so again, you know, as much as possible, I'd like you to stick pretty closely with the thread of logic or the approach that we presented in lecture, because that's really going to be the one that's most useful to people as they're preparing for the examination, right? You know, there's a lot of information about Cuvier that I did not include, and while it's all valid, potentially, that's not really going to be helping people that read your answer if you're including all those other things. Okay, so let's go to a different example. So that might be an example of an answer that I might be posting as a student where I think my answer is pretty good. But if I go to maybe the source here, I could say, well, you know what? I've got answers to everything here, but this one, I don't remember him talking about that. Right? And so what you could do is you could copy this, and you can go back to the post, and you can say, well, here's new thread number 8. Did we cover this in class? You can do number 8. Boom. So it's like, yeah, I can't find anything about this in my lecture notes. Did I miss something? And then maybe you did miss something. Maybe somebody else can come through and say, yeah, he talked about this when he said da 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 da. Or you say it might be the fact that that nobody recognizes this, and some other people might come in and say, no, I don't think he covered it. And then yeah, at some point, I would come in as I look over the posts on the discussion board every so often. And when I see this question, I'll say, yeah, we didn't really cover this. Maybe we'll cover it later. Maybe we'll cover it in week 2 or week 3. And it was just out of sequence. And so, or maybe we're not going to cover it at all. Right? And if that's the case, you pretty much don't need to worry about having an answer for that question. All right. So got that. And so the the general sequence is that I'd like all the questions to be answered. I think that we could use this as an opportunity for you to get some of those required points out of the way. Remember, 24 points are required over the entire semester. You get 3 points per post. And for example, you know, the answer that I posted for question 10 would be 3 points. If I'm just posting a question and asking if there's anything that I missed, that would not be worth points. You'd have to basically be providing information that contributes to contributes positively to the ability of other people to prepare for examinations. Okay. And so you can get up to 9 points per week. And so theoretically, in 3 weeks' time, you could complete your obligation of 24 points for the entire semester. And then you could ignore the board for the rest of the semester. No, but you don't want to do that because there are going to be always some good answers here. And even if you're not posting, you should still come here to look at what's being posted. And even if you're done with your 24 points, keep in mind that all of your additional posts will be tallied up at the end, and they'll qualify for bad extra credit. All right.